Hey, what's going on, guys? Mike Floyd here with the Turf Toe Show, bringing you all your rumors, your news, and everything that's happening in the Alliance of American Football and the XFL. Last week, I was touching on the whole drama that's going on in the media, how this millionaire came in and dumped $250 million of his own money into the league, and I didn't really get to touch on the XFL, so I'm gonna remedy that this week, and I'm actually gonna talk about them. But also, once again, we got to talk about the Alliance of American Football and some more drama that's going along with it. So let's get started. So first up, I just want to get this one out the way. The Alliance of American Football is being sued by a man. Well, not really the Alliance of American Football, more like Charlie Ebersol is being sued by a man who's claiming that the idea of the AAF was technically his idea. This co-founder and current CFO of this company called Treble Music, which is a app that allows you to download music off the internet, Robert Vanech, he claims that he had a handshake agreement with Charlie Ebersol to be like a co-founder or own half of the company of what will turn into the Alliance of American Football. According to the court documents that he filed in California, I'll link to the whole complaint. It's like 92 freaking long pages of like this whole giant thing. According to that complaint, the original idea was for them to go to Vince McMahon, the owner of the XFL, actually buy the naming rights of the XFL for like $50 million, start the league up and run it from there. Turns out Vince McMahon was like, nah fam, I'm gonna do this myself. And that's when we got this whole thing where he dumped $500 million of his own money into the XFL. So then turns out Charlie Ebersol decided, hey, I'm still gonna do this idea. And that's how we got the AAF. So according to Robert Vanech, after the whole deal fell apart with Vince McMahon, he had the idea of still continuing on with the idea with the AAF and actually getting it started. And then Charlie actually cut him off. Well, according to the AAF, they stated that there was never an agreement, that they're only focused on the players that they got, and they're not even going to worry about this thing, let it work its way in court, which I think is pretty smart. Personally, the only places I've been seeing this is all over Twitter and ESPN. Once again, ESPN's just hating on the AAF like they normally do. But I find it kind of funny and quite pathetic that a guy who's a businessman, like he's a CFO, so he knows contracts and everything, is taking another guy to court over a handshake agreement. I don't know about you guys, but I've never actually done anything that's super important where I was held by a handshake. Maybe back in like the 40s and the 50s, you can get away with a handshake agreement, but today you need ink on paper. That's what they got notaries for. When I joined the Army back in 2007, I signed a contract that was binding right there. When I got my job now, contracts. When I bought my house, contracts. Everything's on paper, it's ink, there's witnesses. So for them to sit around and say like, oh, I came up with the idea, I did this. It's like, yo, my guy, like you didn't get it on paper, so you're SOL. Honestly, I think if he did have this idea and he wants to get back at Charlie, hey, just go join it with the XFL and make that great, so we can have two awesome leagues in the spring. So it works out for us fans. And to be completely honest with you, I really don't care about this dude suing him. I just thought it was just some news that popped up by the AAF, so I figured you might want to know about it. Like I said, I'll link to the ESPN, and I think I got a Pro Football Talk article so you can read more about it. The next thing up dealing with the Alliance of American Football is the fact that quarterbacks are kind of causing some, drama within the AAF. So if you watch any of my videos, you know I don't like Christian Hackenberg. Well, Christian Hackenberg finally got benched in the Memphis Express Apollos game this past weekend, and Zach Mettenberger came in and actually threw a touchdown on his first drive. Well, Mike Singletary has finally come out and stated that Zach Vandenberg is going to be starting the next Memphis AAF game, which is going to be amazing. Mettenberger came in the game, threw for 120 yards, 2 touchdowns, his first game action of the year. Hackenberg started the first 3 games and went for 32 of 62 for 277 yards, 3 interceptions, and no touchdowns and 3 losses. I think actually in the last game, in the Apollos game, he actually threw 2 interceptions. So it's a wrap for that cat. So they're going to be playing the San Diego Fleet. San Diego Fleet, unfortunately, has a pretty good defense now. They actually showed up. They shut down the Commanders last weekend. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see if Mettenberger can actually get that offense clicking and get them moving and actually score some points. I do think having that new blood in there will get that offense moving. And what's also funny is the fact that all throughout the offseason, the preseason, they were pushing the whole Mettenberger thing. They even have like the Met show on the Memphis Express Instagram. If you go to it, you'll see them where he's interviewing players on the team. So it seems like he was supposed to be a starting quarterback, but the powers that be wanted Hackenberg, and I'm glad they finally got their heads out their butts. Sticking with quarterbacks, the Atlanta Legends, they're 0-3 right now. They've been having some problems with offense. Their defense was playing pretty good. Last weekend, they were marching down the field, but they just couldn't score once they got into the red zone. So, according to Charles Oldham of the Associated Press, Rich Bartell resigned as the team's quarterback coach and play caller on Friday, prior to the team's actual loss on Sunday, which is pretty interesting. So, not only did you have Brad Childress, who's supposed to be the head coach, he resigning in January. Then you had Michael Vick, who was supposed to be the offensive coordinator, quitting 2 days before the actual start of the season. Now you get Bartell actually quitting 2 days before an actual game. So it was like, there's so much dysfunction with this team. Is like, I don't even know how anybody is able to keep like their head straight. Like everything's just going wrong with them. So I was trashing on Matt Sims pretty much in my last video. So with so many coaching changes out there, I actually kind of feel bad for the guy. Because when I went back and looked at some more game film, he was making some pretty decent throws, but his receivers were dropping the ball. There was just bad play calls. So it just seems like they got to get something down. I don't know what Kevin Cole, the head coach, is doing, but they need to make some hires and get some better people in there. Colt McCoy, who's a quarterback that I really love coming out of Texas, he went through the same thing with the Browns in the NFL. They kept bringing in offensive coordinators, switching coaches on him. He never can get a set coach to help him out. And now his career is just like, it got trashed for him. So now he's backing up people. I think the last time I saw him was with the Redskins, but he ended up getting hurt. The Atlanta Legends actually want to get a dub on the board pretty soon. They got to get this coaching carousel under control. And it's about to be the 4th game. And they already got to get a new coach. That's kind of jacked up. Now moving on to the XFL, we actually have some pretty legit coaching hires that just got picked up. So a couple weeks ago, they were talking about how Bob Stoops, who was the first head coach and GM announced for the XFL, he's going to be leading up the Dallas team, which is pretty legit because everybody in Dallas knows him for his days in Oklahoma. Well, they already named off the 2 coaches for the DC team and the Seattle team. For the DC team, we got Pep Hamilton, who was not originally working, but most currently working for Michigan. I think he was like the offensive coordinator out there. And he also had ties with Stanford, where Andrew Luck, who's the son of Oliver Luck, who is like the commissioner of the XFL, who went to school. So he helped make Andrew Luck help build him up to that quarterback that he is. Then Hamilton also played quarterback at Howard University, which is in DC. And he knows the DC area. So it's pretty cool that they're getting these coaches who know the area that they're going to be coaching in, and they have ties there, so they'll be able to bring those people in. For the Seattle team, they got Jim Zorn coming in. If you didn't know, Jim Zorn was originally the first quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks when they came into the league. I think he was a quarterback for the first 8 years. He played with them from 76 to 83, left to go play with the Green Bay Packers and then to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Most recently, he was a quarterbacks coach for the Kansas City Chiefs in 2011 and 2012. So now we're getting these guys who have been in football for a super long time, no pro football, have ties to the league, because you have all these big time players and big time like coaches and stuff like that coming out and like, hey, these are some legit hires. So I kind of see what Oliver Luck is kind of doing. As of right now, Vince McMahon, who everybody knows from the original XFL, he is still like the sole backer of this league. It's his money, and then probably some like silent investors and everything. But they're letting Oliver Luck actually do his thing. He ran NFL Europe back in the day, which was legit. It just didn't have the... I bet if they had social media back then, NFL Europe will still be around. I remember playing those guys in Madden. I would actually play, me and my buddies would actually use those teams instead of using like the actual NFL teams, because then we'd actually have to know what we're doing with the playbooks. But they're actually letting Oliver Luck do his thing, get the coaches that they need. They're taking their time. They're letting these guys actually scout out these areas. So I'm actually kind of excited to see who the other 5 coaches are going to be, because there's 8 teams. So there's 5 more coaches they got to get, who they're going to bring in to actually coach. And I don't know, like I was trying to think the other day which coaches I would like to see, but honestly, there's so many good coaches out there that I couldn't even like pinpoint one. The Pep Hamilton hire, I wasn't even thinking of it until I saw the rumors about it, and I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. The Jim Zorn one, I kind of heard what was going on. There's a lot of rumors going around about Jeff Fisher being picked up for the St. Louis team, but he's working for the Alliance American Football right now as like their head of football operations or some weird title that he has. I know it's not with technology because the guy's not a technological person, and I hope it's not for offense because he's not an offensive guy, he's a defensive guy, but I digress. It's still pretty cool seeing like the XFL starting to take these steps, getting these coaches out here. They stated that they're going to have all the coaches named off by the end of March. So today's the 27th of February, so we got a couple more weeks to go. They're also going to release what the team names are, What I'm more excited here is when the draft is going to be, because that's when I'm going to really start paying attention to it, because they also stated that they're going to go after the Juco schools and like the lower division schools to give these guys a shot. And I also heard rumors that they're going to actually go after the high school players to allow them to go straight into the league. I feel one or two different ways about this. One, there are some high school players, like my dad is from Mississippi, so there's a school, South Panola, down there, that those guys are like grown men. When you see them, they're high school football players, but they look like grown men. You got Hoover, Alabama, those guys look like grown men. You got a bunch of schools down here in Texas where I'm at, where these guys up in North Texas look like grown men coming out of high school. So there's possibilities, like there might be some dudes that are physically ready for like playing pro football, maybe not mentally, but giving them like the proper nutrition coaches, proper training coaches, you know, actual pro systems. They can actually breed these athletes, I don't want to say breed, but like actually groom these athletes into what they need to be. I do like the idea of having a league where these guys don't have to go to college and actually play for these guys and not get any like money for it, because, you know, a lot of these guys might come from homes with no real cash in it. So this would be a way for these guys to make money and actually see if football is going to be a way of life for them. So they don't have that like that dream of like, oh, I always want to be a football player and blah, blah, blah. They can actually go get that out their system ahead of time. And then you can realize very quickly on like, hey, I'm not built for the pros. Let me go become an investment banker or get a degree in something like basket weaving. But I do like the idea for this. I know the NBA, their G League is doing that, where they're allowing the players to go straight from high school to G League. You got to sign a 3-year contract. You got to play 3 years in the G League, actually develop, and then you can declare for the draft for the NBA. That's legit for them, because now, once again, you're training with the actual trainers, the actual nutritionists. You're getting used to a pro schedule. You're not wasting your time in class, because if you're not a college person, not everybody's built for college. I mean, why waste your time going to it if you're not built for it? So letting these guys come up, make some decent cash. I mean, 80 G's a year is pretty legit. Get some good health care, play the game they love, get that experience. I'm all for it. If the Alliance does that as well, that there's 2 routes that these guys can take, why go to college? I mean, college ball is amazing, but most people, they only watch the Big Ten, SEC, and, you know, the Pac and all that stuff like that. So unless you go for these big time schools, you're not really going to get noticed. I mean, yeah, you got a couple guys who come out of Mountain West who ball out, but it's usually like a quarterback or something like that. You might get a running back who dominated, you know, in a D3 school, but this will get these guys, you know, on a national stage, so you can actually see these guys. Like for the Alliance American Football, Luis Perez, he didn't play high school ball. He actually learned how to play football watching YouTube, and the way we know this because they keep talking about it by the announcers. So I do think this is a great opportunity for these guys to actually get this experience, get on the pro stage, and just ball out. The last thing I want to cover is the cool thing that I noticed that the Alliance American Football has. Their head of technology tweeted out the other day that there's now like this sky cam, like this I think they call it the all 22 camera, to where you can actually view all 22 players on the field at one time, as if you're like in the skybox for like the coaching box, and actually kind of call the plays. There's no audio, there's no commentators. All you hear is the actual field audio from like the players on the field, the referees, stuff like that. With like the stadium audio, let me say that. It's pretty legit. All you see is the guys break the huddle. You see them getting their formations. You can see kind of where the defense is setting up. It's pretty legit. I sent it to one of my buddies who's real big into that kind of stuff. And the whole day he's like texting me like, oh, why are they in this type of coverage? This. And I'm like, dude, I mean, you would have to ask that coach. I don't know. I don't got connections to him, but it's still pretty legit. So I would highly recommend checking that out. It's on AAF.com. If you click on, like, say, when the Memphis Express is playing the next game, if you click at the top tab, it's gonna be a tab that says Skycam. Just click it down to the bottom, say all 22, and you can watch the game that way. So if you're the kind of guy that just wants to watch just pure football, not hear Marvin Lewis trash Hackenberg again, and here's Sean O'Hara just give stories about his time when he won the Super Bowl, that's a perfect way to watch it. Well, that's gonna wrap it up for this video. If you see anything that's like little news or rumors that, you know, you think should get out there and, you know, everybody should know about, just hit me up, send me a message, and I'll make sure to put it in the next video. I try to release these every Wednesday. I might start releasing those on Tuesdays if the news breaks a little earlier, but then again, I still want to, you know, gather and compile a decent list for you guys so you can just one meaty chunk of news. If you like this video, hit like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.